Welcome to TORAH Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA, at this address for the very last time. Thanks to Rabbi Coffman. No, just a joke. With part 2, episode number, what episode number is this? Come on, pop quiz. 16, Sex, Drugs, Rock and Roll, part 2. We're going to close in on some topics, and then we'll let you know what next week's topic is going to be all about. It's going to be good. Rabbi's coming up with a pretty juicy one, so that'll be fun. So, Rabbi, welcome back to the show. It's good to see you again as well. Phone lines are not open, but they will be momentarily. Oh, yes, they are. They're actually already open, so good deal. So, 855-952-4253, 855-95-BIBLE, so you can remember the number when you're in Australia traveling, on the family vacation, right? So, oh, man. Okay, your camera shifted again. I don't know. I think maybe the cord is pulling it. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. I'll tell you when to stop. Stop. Nice. I'll watch it. I think it may be a tight cord, just slowly bringing it back, a little bungee cord. Okay, so we got you good now. So, all
right.
Yeah, so last week was a really cool show. It was good topics, and there was plenty of viewers, and I'd like to continue on. As you had mentioned, there's a lot of stuff that we really did not discuss that probably could be, and I think would make good topical conversations for future references for other people as well. So I don't remember where we left off, but I know that this last show led you into thinking about other things, maybe, which is why we're going to cover those on the next week. Like, what was it, like TV and sports, things like that. You'll want to tune into that one. Trust me on that one. So with that said, I don't know why the phone line thing is. That's right. That's the right one. Yep, good deal. Okay, cool. So, Rabbi, why don't we kick it off, and you tell me where we kind of ended it last week, and then and what's the basis for? There's going to be people seeing this episode now that did not see last week. So my thought is, what I would like to see you do, if you don't mind, is just to kind of recap, maybe in about 2 minutes, a generalization. You have to, because because if you go past 2 minutes, my system will blow, and I know it will, because I know from experience.
This is the last one. Why should it matter? Who cares?
No. It's the last one here in this room. Tomorrow I gotta start moving everything out, putting it over in my office, and hope the internet holds up. So. Anyway, okay. Yeah. So with that said, just a little quick recap on last week, and I'm sure someone will probably either call in or you'll trigger a question from me that I probably have been curious about for a long time. So I'm going to pass the baton on to you, Rabbi. So you go ahead and tell us what we need to know from last week. Quick summary.
All right. Well, at the beginning, we spoke a little bit about marriage and about the connection between a husband and wife, and the purpose. The purpose of harnessing sex in a proper way. Obviously, we didn't, go into like graphic detail. Sure. Anyone who wanted to contact me can certainly do that. So we spoke about the difference between, a Jew and a non-Jew, and a little bit about morality, and what a non-Jew is obligated in, or let's say not obligated in. So we mentioned that. And we spoke about the importance also, when we spoke about illicit drugs or recreational drugs, about guarding the body, right? The importance, as it says in Deuteronomy chapter 4, about being careful to guard your soul, right? And guarding your soul means that you have to take care of your body, as well as the soul. You have to, be in tune with what God wants you to do spiritually. Obviously, your body has to be, physically fit, within reason. As well. So we spoke about that, about exercise, and then we got into this whole thing about illicit drugs, and about using, let's say, marijuana for for medicinal purposes, and we went into the whole thing about how harmful marijuana can be, and alcohol abuse, which, pretty scary statistics that went out there about people who use alcohol, especially kids, let's say. And then we got at the end, very quickly, into the end about rock and roll and music, and and lyrics, and what effect that has. And I had to apologize for speaking about dental music, anyone who likes classical music. So if that is an issue, or not,
Personally, I
even
think
if
that
there's-
the only music that really should be outlawed, in my opinion, is elevator music. That's just my opinion.
I think that's the same as dental music. So you can put dental music side, dash beat, whatever.
That's funny. Jason Akers, good to see you, brother. Hello, Michelle Elisheva. Thank you for all tuning in. We've got about 14 viewers right now. Let me throw something out there at you. Now, your advice that you're giving would be the same advice. I'm assuming this would be the advice that you, or the information you would be sharing with your children to try to bring them up in on a totally focused mindset. However, in addition to that, that would be the same information that a really pious Jew would follow. Someone who, I've even heard a really pious Jew would not even celebrate his own birthday. I mean, I've got my own commentary on that. If you ever want to know what it is, just send me an email. But so with that said, what's acceptable and what's tolerable are two different things. Now, what regarding Hashem's his tolerance level to these sort of things, is there a difference? In my mind, I'm thinking there is. Like what his preferred method of operation is, and then what's like, well, okay, if you want to, that's fine, but I'm telling you, it's not a good idea. Is that kind of how he views things? Yeah,
I mean, there are things that are outrightly forbidden, right? But you're talking about. It depends what the topic is. If you're talking about illicit drugs, yeah, that's definitely going to be an issue,
right.
according to everyone. I mean, there are people out there that, someone asked about the fact that there was marijuana used in the Mishkan, in the tabernacle. There's one,
I remember
Exodus
that, right.
Exodus chapter 30. And someone commented that I spoke about kashrus and whatever on a question and answer session, and mentioned that Jews don't eat animals that are carnivorous, right? That they don't, not animals of prey, or any of that. The animals that we eat.
That's really weird,
cows,
though. If you
cows
really
and sheep, they're vegetarian.
Rabbi, if you think about that, that's kind of really messed up, though. I mean,
it is. I'll tell you why.
Wait. I'm serious. If you think about this just for a second, you would agree. Why would the Jewish people, a holy people, not eat animals that actually prey? Let it catch you.
I got it.
Sorry, man. It was, I don't have these thoughts often, but when I do, if I don't spill the beans, then it'll never come out. So my head will just explode one day, and you guys will know what happened to me.
They eat. So someone said, so I mentioned that they eat vegetables, right? They're not carnivorous. They're herbivorous, right? They eat plants. So if they eat plants, we don't eat animals of prey. So someone said, what's the problem with eating hallucinogenic mushrooms, right? They're
right.
What should be the issue, right? There should be absolutely no issue because they are normal. It's normal vegetation. So if and this is a big if they use the marijuana in the Mishkan, which I find it very hard to believe, but that being said, so if I mentioned about about kashrus and the fact that they're gonna that mushrooms are permitted certainly to eat, so if they're permitted to eat, so why can't I use them for to have some sort of like hallucinogenic or whatever type of experience, so while we're in this topic, let's just make 100% clear. And at the end of the show, so you gave me like 30 seconds to sum up everything, which is never good, but that's okay. I'll cut you some slack because I have to get up at like 3 a.m. to do this. Anyway, at the end, I said, what is, whatever we do, in this world, Jew or non-Jew, if what I'm doing right now, is this gonna, help my service of God? Meaning, is it gonna help me be, a better Jew, a better person? The way I do things, or not, right? And that's how we should live in this world, even though probably most people don't. They just react and do things. They don't think, right? We don't really think about, what we do. I remember years ago, there was the whole thing getting kids to, trying to get kids to read. So they would have these commercials saying, getting kids to read, and they would say, the mind's a terrible thing to waste. So in this generation, everything got shorter. So people just say a mind's a terrible thing. That's it. Mine's a terrible thing, to use.
That's funny.
So,
Yeah.
so we're trying to use as much brain cell capacity as possible. We only maximize maybe 3%, of our brain capacity. So even if we're going to say you can eat mushrooms, right? Mushrooms not a problem. You got to check them for bugs, right? But otherwise, mushrooms should be, not a problem to eat, if they're not infested with bugs. So I agree. That's 100% true. But if it's going to alter my mind and it's going to put me in a different dimension, I'll go on record and say, is that really what God wants? He wants me to be like totally plastered, in another state where I don't even, realize what I'm doing. That's
Right.
going to enhance my service to God. Now,
Right.
in my language, a lot of sense that doesn't make. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. Why? If there's an obligation, Jew or non-Jew, doesn't matter. If there's an obligation to guard the body, right? Anything you do against the body, you say, well, if I have a hallucinogenic, experience, why is that bad for the body? Why is that good? Prove to me that that's a good thing.
Right.
You want to go on top of a building, think you're Superman, and say, well, I can jump off, see what happens. You go splat. You want to.
But wait, let me object here. Oh, first of all, before I object, I want to just say, because we're pretty much getting caught up now to where we're picking up from last time, and we'll be projecting forward. Right. So for all you viewers out there, I will be putting up 2 video links at the end of the broadcast. Once the video is uploaded, you'll see 2 links. One will be to last week's show with Rabbi Coffman, and the other one will be to the basic general plans of the TORAH Talk move and why Rabbi Coffman is kicking me out of this building. Okay,
I did it.
Okay, here's the objection. Well, actually, let me start the objection like any good Jew would, even though I'm not Jewish yet, with a question. What would God think about me, and how would he view William Hall if all of a sudden I decided one day that I wanted to take a break and go into Austin and climb on a plane and skydive? Major rush, has nothing to do with getting closer to Hashem at all. It's an experience that just adrenaline just pumping through your blood, right? But there was nothing in that actually would draw me closer to God. Would God object to that? Now, don't answer that yet, because the reason why I asked, because I don't do drugs. I never have. The only thing I've ever done is smoke pot like twice, and both times I got like sick, and I was like, screw that. I don't want to. Yes, I just said that. Sorry.
That explains a lot right now. I don't get it.
Hey, I have zero, mark my words, I have zero repercussions from that at all. Okay. Just kidding. Kaufman will get this later. But my point is, if the answer with God doesn't mind if you go skydiving, then what's the problem with God would have a problem with you doing a hallucinogenic drug if it's not going to kill you? And if you're dedicated, to Hashem, it's like all of a sudden your friends are having a party and like, here, take a hit of this, and it gives you hallucinations. You're like, wow, that's kind of cool. But I mean, is it viewed the same as something like skydiving or bungee jumping or something like this? Even though I'm not talking about legality. I'm not talking about what the state would say is acceptable and what's not.
Right. So you just hit a major. Major topic. We'll put hallucination and that to the side, drop. The issue is that am I allowed to put my life in danger?
Right. Now you got a different question. That's good.
That's a good point. That's really the question. Am I allowed to put my life, in danger? Now people say, listen, how many things happen when a person skydives? How many? I mean, there are accidents. That's definitely true. It's probably more then someone's going to say, well, it's more dangerous to be in a car. Look how many people get killed in car accidents and all that. That's also true. I mean, Israel is one of the few countries in the world at the end of the week they'll tell you how many people were killed in car accidents.
Yeah, but I can see your point. That's different though. You have to go from place to place, but you don't have to skydive. You don't have to bungee jump, but you do have to travel.
No, you don't have to. But but the thing is, when you have today, in the 90s, what came out very strong was about extreme sports. And there are a lot of people out there, even if they're, not necessarily good at it, they want to have the thrill, in the experience, of like basically feeling death, or come an inch of your life or whatever in order to feel alive. that is totally not a Jewish concept at all. I mean, why in the world would you have to feel death,
Right.
and feel that experience, and go through it, even if there is, that element of danger. Why does the person have to go through that? I remember, when I was in camp years ago, a friend of mine said that, in order to go through life, now obviously, you have to take in mind it's a 15-year-old kid, 16-year-old kid saying this. He says, you have to experience everything once. Right? You have to
That's
go through
funny.
life, and you shouldn't be limited. You have to experience, everything at least once. So me being obnoxious, like I could be, so I said, I don't think that's true. So he said, why not? So I said, well, I got a great idea. I said, okay. I said, go outside and take 60 steps backwards. I said, 1, 2, 3. I said, okay, you're by that tree right now. Run as fast as you can. Run as fast as you can, into the bunk, right? Into the wall.
Nice. That's funny.
So I said, I don't think I have to experience that. I think that's bad. We all understand, that's bad. So what this person obviously meant was, you shouldn't be limited, in life. You should be able to experience, all these things. So isn't that what college is for?
Right.
Isn't that what university is for? Parents send their kids to college. They come out, totally whacked in, in different ways, and, different things that they experience. They said, wow, this is the same kid I sent, for 4 years. They said, oh, no, that's not the case. Not everyone comes out like that, and this and that. If you stick a person, into a situation, which is dangerous, and they come out, they're not going to come, someone who goes bungee jumping and these other things, yeah, they're going to come out exhilarated. They're going to, they jump out from an airplane. George Bush Sr., at 80 years old, jumped out of an airplane from like 2,000 feet, because he wanted to, want to have one of his last great, life experiences, so to speak. I mean, we should be like focusing on what's real,
Right.
Focusing on, what I need to do to be closer to God. Jumping out of an airplane and feeling death, that's not what God wants.
Right.
The Ramchal in
That's
Path
true.
of the Just.
Yeah.
In Path of the Just, I think I mentioned last week that, people say that, I want to be close to God. I want to show how aesthetically close I am. So I'm going to run around outside with a tank top and, in shorts. I'm going to run around in the snow at 35 below. So the Ramchal says, that's not showing how pious you are. He says, that's the 614th commandment. Don't be stupid. Like, why in the world are you going to run around in the snow in shorts and a tank top?
That's funny. By the way, that's becoming
so,
a new recoined term in my house, or phrase. 614th command. Now they're like, I know, Dad. Don't be stupid.
I coined it. I'm putting it on T-shirts.
Hey, you should. Hey, you know what? We should do that. Actually, that'd be kind of cool. Hey, I don't. This is one thing I don't hardly ever do. Still went to voicemail. Dang. Jason, sorry about that, brother. I'm logged in. I don't know why it's going to voicemail. It's actually logged in. I've never seen that do that before. So you guys may not be able to call in tonight, according to Jason Akers. I really apologize. If you got a question, Jason, just go ahead and put it right there. I'll keep an eye on the chat. That we have a new viewer that I don't recognize her name, and she doesn't recognize our platform. But just because I'm a nice guy, I'm willing to derail you and derail the program, but please keep it ultra short. Just to let you know, it looks like Melanie Marlene, she's a new viewer. Typically the questions we will answer are ones that are topical based on the actual topic of the show. However, since you're a new viewer, I'm going to have him plug it for like 2 minutes on this one, okay? Why did JC say that he was the light to the world, or the light of the world, excuse me, in 2 minutes or less?
I'm also a light to the world. I just, offend a lot of people very easily. I mean, people.
That's because you're not like a light. You're like a blowtorch.
That could be. I always tell people, on Passover, I drink, a tremendous amount of dry wine. I said, if anyone would light a match, I could probably blow up half my neighborhood. So, in order to be a light, obviously you have to do things to emulate, emulate that. So obviously, his followers thought he was so great, and he was, he was just like this icon. I mean, I thought I was an icon, but I guess not. But he himself is an icon, and if he's an icon, he wants to show how great he is to the world. So people are going to build him up and say, yeah, he's, look what he's done. He's done all these great things, and people should know about it. But obviously the problem is that he didn't fulfill just about anything that he said, that they say that he should have. So yeah, you can be you can be a light, but within light there's a lot of darkness. It's like by Hanukkah, we got rid of the Greeks, out of Israel. We fought the mighty Greek army, and we look at Greek culture, and the world that we live in is a Greek world, right? From education standpoint, from building standpoint, for all kinds of things. That's the world we live in. And at the end of the day, what do we, the Jewish people, call Greek civilization? Darkness. You're going to say, right. They brought out the Renaissance. They, brought out all these different things in education, all kinds of other things. And that's darkness. Yeah, you know why it's darkness? Because it's worship of the body. It's worship of this world. And, that's, in short, that's like a whole different beast of living in this world. And, things may not be necessarily forbidden, right? We spoke, a drop about sports and other things, last week. So things may not be 100% forbidden, but, again, is the influence good for me, or is it bad for me? You say, well, it doesn't say anywhere it's forbidden. You're right. It might not say it's forbidden. Well, sports might be a different issue because it's brought down of going to non-Jewish stadiums, et cetera, being, not being a good thing and being forbidden, not going to the ways of the non-Jews. That certainly may be true, but at the end of the day, if, we'll go back to this question, someone's a light, is a beacon, is an icon. He's, influencing others to do the right thing and fulfilling whatever he's supposed to fulfill. Break it down. Let's see if he actually did what they say he did. And the answer is, sorry, didn't do it. So, it can't be a light. So we'll call him like the Greeks, and it's pretty dark.
That's awesome. I put up a few little links for you, your Facebook page, YouTube channel, etc. And along the way, I'm sitting here watching the YouTube chat, and it's quite entertaining, shall I say? So Jason Akers, he tried to call in, but he said that's going straight to voicemail for whatever reason. So his question is regarding bungee jumping and paragliding, etc. What if you're like at Disney World and you want to go on a thrill ride like a roller coaster? Would it be deemed the same? Would it be looked upon as the same thing? You're putting yourself in a metal car going upside down at ungodly speeds, and you're seeing news flashes time and time again recently where these rides are like malfunctioning and causing these really horrible accidents. So would that be kind of viewed in the same regard? And before you answer, I have to quote Eli Shiva. She said, "I don't jump out of planes unless it's on fire or crashing." That's funny. I don't jump out of planes unless they're sitting still on the ground. I'm just giving you a disclaimer now.
I just exchanged a parachute for a knapsack. Sorry.
That's funny.
Oops.
That's funny.
Yeah,
so talk about carnival rides and things like that.
Yeah, carnivals in general should be okay. Most rides. I remember as a kid going to to Disney World and you go on Space Mountain. There's always that sign up there. If you have a heart condition, if you have this, you're not allowed to go on, or
right.
You have to be at least a little, at least 4 feet tall or something or other. But so that's their way of protecting themselves. But I don't think most people would say that rides in general, and a carnival should be forbidden. Yes, they can be dangerous. I've seen, stories of people getting stuck in a Ferris wheel and, it stops, or, roller coaster going off. That can happen. But the question would be, as we mentioned before, is that something, would I compare that to putting my life in danger? If you have a heart condition, right, then that's the 614th commandment. You can't go on Space Mountain. That's just the reality. You shouldn't be, jumping out of airplanes or, other things. But it's a much lower level than doing something that's absolutely, dangerous. Again, right. It's not the same as I remember, as a kid at at one of these things, and there was a ride where the floor drops, you get sucked in, and you go like round and round and round till like you feel like you're gonna pass out. So I remember, somebody right before the ride started, they were tying their shoe, and all of a sudden, the floor dropped, and he got sucked in, like trying to tie his shoe, like going round and round. Right. It's actually pretty funny to see. But so that aspect of thrills, and going through that, there is an issue. It's not a danger issue. It's not a danger issue per se. What the issue is like, it's kind of like computer games, right? In other words, the more sophisticated, the games have become. I mean, I grew up on Atari and in television, for goodness sake. That was like beep, beep. You like get these like blips on the thing. It's like, oh yeah, it's like you're playing basketball. It's like, joystick going up, going down, and it's pretty primitive. But things like that A, are addictive. B, just like, a total waste of time.
Right.
Now they made all these more like real life type of things that are much more, much more sophisticated. It's not, carnivals and these type of things it's not a danger issue. I think what the issue is that, a person goes to these things, they think, they don't think it's reality. This may be a little bit harsh. I mean, my kids certainly go to carnival, so, but there is that level of, just let go, it's fantasy, let me have a good time. The question in that we dealt with a little bit, which we can open it up, because this is what this question does, is within that reality, so to speak, is there anything wrong with it? Is there anything wrong with playing, with video games that are not, Mortal Kombat or any of these, type of, killing things or, whatever, is there anything, does that do any damage, so to speak? So I wouldn't say it's necessarily a physical danger, even though it can have an influence. I mean, it doesn't mean you're going to play Mortal Kombat, you're going to go out and kill somebody, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that, but the more violence we are subjected to, the more susceptible we are. I remember as a teenager, there was a story of somebody who saw the movie 1,000 Faces of Death, and then he and a buddy of his or a few buddies, went out and killed someone to feel like, they killed another kid to feel like what death was. People came out and said, what a tragic thing, how terrible, which it was, no question. They said, we have to do something, to try and stop this, to combat it. Well, if you're making video, if there are movies out there that glorify violence, which they do, and that's not that's not a new thing. Could it be there's a connection between the violence you see and what a person could do? 100%. You don't have to be on a hallucinogenic mushroom for that.
Right.
All you have to do is watch what goes on. And you see all over the internet. You see live feeds of things going on and all kinds of crazy things. Is that going to affect the person? Right. Statistically, it's proven it does. You're going to say, well, do most people who see these things go out and kill people? No, they don't. Right? Does it have a subconscious influence on the person that they, when they see things or they hear things, it doesn't really affect them so much? Yeah, it does. There you go.
That was me. Jason, to answer your question, I have no idea, but whenever I logged on, it must have logged on like in a weird mode. I logged off and logged back on again, and now the phone lines are open, so you guys can call on in. So I didn't mean to distract the rabbi, but I had to test it out. Okay.
So anyway, there's with all these things, there's a fine line, and the question has to be: is this good for me? Is it bad for me? It's all about if we want to take time to just relax, so to speak, and downtime. There is room for that, but there have to be certain parameters. Should a person be playing, video games, part of the day, for an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is, just to pass time to, veg out a little bit. Is it good for me or is it bad for me? That's really the question. You're sort of in middle ground here. Something that's dangerous that we know for sure, is dangerous. You're not allowed to put yourself in a position to do it.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. Okay, we looks like we have another new viewer, and to be fair, I must ask his question. 2 minutes or less, please. It says, quick question for Rabbi. Fasting, I believe, creates a certain after state. Why is it welcome? Why is it... I don't know.
It's only welcome when you have an obligation to fast. There are a certain number of fast days according to the Jewish people. There are 2 Torah fast days. That's the 9th of Av, which is coming up in a few months, and Yom Kippur. There are other minor. There are a bunch of minor fast days, meaning that the fast day is sundown to sundown, right? Or sorry, sun up to sundown. So therefore, there are only 7 fast days altogether. So it's not like we're fasting all the time. There are people that that do fast, maybe once or twice a week. Certainly not the majority, right?
You say they eat once or twice a week or fast?
No, they fast.
I was like, man, that's really tough. It's like, it only rains 2 days a week here. On the first time it rains for 3 days. The second time it rains for 4 days. So,
right,
that's bad.
Especially if you're living in Israel. But most people don't fast.
Right.
The ones that do that can handle it. That gives them a higher awareness. Definitely gives them a higher awareness. It's not for the majority of people. I mean, you're talking about a very, 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 very small percentage. That does that. And Judaism is not, is not big on it. You're allowed to, but today we're much weaker than in previous generations. So therefore. It's hard enough to fast on the days that we have to, to fast any other time is just much more. It's much more difficult. It's not something that.
Okay.
It's not something like in aesthetics as a Jew that say, oh, right. You should be fasting more. No, that was for, previous generations. That's right. It's certainly not for today.
Okay, 2 minutes are up. Okay, so Greg Martin says, is there anything wrong with watching? Now this is for next week, but the second question I'm going to ask you can actually answer now if you want. Greg Martin, is there anything wrong with watching sports events only for the purpose of relaxation? Now, the follow-up question is the one you need to answer. What would be a healthy way to relax without violating halacha? That's like not. I don't mean like Rabbi. I know you're going to say, "What do you mean? All you got to do, pull the Torah out and sit down with a glass of wine. There's nothing more relaxing than that." No, that's not what he's asking.
Gosh, not wine.
That is not. That's not the question. I mean, can I watch UFC just because I like the guy's shorts that he's wearing or whatever? No, right. Just joking. But so what would be an acceptable way of relaxation in a
I'm just reading this magazine for the pictures.
Wait. Be fair.
For the articles, not for the pictures. Right?
Be fair.
So
in a secular way, let's clarify that. In a secular way, not in a perverted way or in an illegal way, and just in a like a remotely secular, right?
Let's get back to the original idea. If I want to relax, am I gaining by doing this? You're gonna say, of course. I'm relaxed. I'm seeing 2 people, beat the heck out of each other. I'm watching people in tank top and shorts running around with let's say with a basketball, and they're cursing and they're this and they're that, and upmanship and bad manners and all that. Again, that penetrates subconsciously what I see. If a person sees that, you say, oh, I only do it once in a while. I don't do it all the time. The influence is definitely there. You're gonna say, what? I have to read a book. I have to go take a walk. I have to, you want to, I'm not gonna say what a person should do per se, right? But you have to realize all these other things, entertainment included, is gonna have an effect. Keep in mind. If I mentioned my video games, these things are very addictive, and. You take people that I see quite a bit. People are addicted to to games like Candy Crush and other, and other type of things. And these things are addictive. So you say, yeah, I'm just doing it for fun. I'm not, played some card games. Yeah, something that's not gonna, it's not gonna be addictive. It's fun. It's sports is definitely fun. there's no question. It's, it certainly can be relaxing. Say, I'm never going to learn from them anyway. It doesn't matter, right? But at the end of the day, a person sitting, you're sitting in your, the couch potato, and you're sitting there watching. The majority of what you see, and again, you're talking to a former, sports junkie, and that, and that is that, what I see shouldn't affect me, but it's, it is enjoyable. There's
Okay.
there's no question.
Okay, I have to play the devil's advocate here for a moment. So, in biblical times, back in the day, right, there were no synagogues in the general sense of things, like in Abraham's time. Even like long after, even in Moshe Rabbeinu's time, there were no like synagogues in general. Are you telling me that the people of all the camps, all they did was sit around and study Torah, or did they go out and create their own version of soccer? Did they go out and do something, hunting, just to have family life?
I'm sure they didn't hunt. Hunting for a Jew is forbidden. That comes under the category of.
That's another hot topic we got to cover, hunting. So
because you're it's called Tzar Baal Chaim. It's like you're causing stress to animals by doing it. It's certainly not good. So even if it's not necessarily a Torah prohibition, it's something that you don't learn good things from it. That's for sure. But that's a different.
Okay.
That's a different issue. So back in the day, there are people I'm sure that exercised. I'm sure that people went out for walks, went out to nature. Other things could be they kicked around a soccer ball or whatever. But you have to keep in mind there were other, they weren't living in Victorian England. They were, there was plenty of other, terrible things going on in the world, pretty much trying, survival, war, idolatry, like all these different, things, and the influence of, all these different things that affect, that would affect them in the world. So, that being said, there are probably, plenty of other things that they did. Keep in mind, during that time, you mentioned the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, and later there weren't synagogues. You're right. Synagogues came later. After the temple was destroyed, there were synagogues after that. But at the same time, there was a oral tradition given at the same time. So that had to be constantly gone over. So people had to speak out.
Okay.
Had to speak. You're talking about a whole different thing. So that's by. So you say, okay, that's by men, what they learned and what they saw,
right,
whatever.
Right.
What about women and children? Well, women don't have an obligation to learn Torah. So what did women do? So women had their own things to do. They weren't raising kids in that time and living in that time. They certainly weren't bored. There's you have to remember what that time period is was like, and it was tremendously volatile. It was a tremendously volatile time period. I'm not saying there wasn't peace and there weren't good things going on, but you had a lot of things that were you had a lot of things that were that were going on at the time that they didn't have how much leisurely time did they have? Okay, the non-Jews did. They had their gymnasiums and and this and and sporting events and and all that. That's what Greece did. But that certainly was a foreign Jewish concept. So they were much. You have to keep in mind also, if you had a temple that existed and God's presence you felt, or even the second temple wasn't felt as much, but you're talking about living in a godly world. Even you had idolatry going on and other things.
Sure.
You weren't looking outside of that. If I'll say like this, if a person was really in tune with who they have to be, right, Jew or non-Jew, this stuff goes by the wayside. There's so much to do. It doesn't matter if your brain's tired or not. Doesn't matter, if you get up at 3 a.m, 3 times a week, like some crazy people do without caffeine. So, if you're in tune, you're not bored. There's plenty what to do. The problem is we live in an extremely lazy generation.
Sure.
I'll go on record here. I only read for fun after the age of 20. I didn't grow up as a reader. I grew up, basketball, baseball, tennis, like, sports, this, that. It wasn't reading, that was for sure. But people are lazy. They just want to be entertained, right? Entertainment is it has a place for certain things. Within Judaism, it does have a certain place. But at the end of the day, what happens? You sit there as a couch potato in a vegetative state. I remember, I did a test. Again, it's probably for next week, but I'll just mention, you'll probably get a kick out of this. I did a test once. People were sitting watching TV, and all of a sudden I screamed out, I'm like, there's a fire! Fire! They're like, yeah, we'll get it at the commercial. The commercial comes, and, did you say, something about a fire? I was like, oh, no, don't worry about it. It was only half the house. I took care of it. It's fine. They were brain dead. They were sitting there glued to this, to what I'll call the idiot box, and they're sitting there watching, and I scream out, "There's a fire!" and nobody moved. This is before DVRs. We were watching 4 things at once.
That's funny.
And they're sitting there like, "Did you say something about a fire?" I was like, "No, it's just a popcorn. Fine. No, don't worry about it. I was just kidding. Ha ha." But like they were, if a person is sitting back, and they're being entertained, and they don't have to think about anything. So at least, you come to these shows, at least you're getting good information and you're getting entertained. So it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. Look at that. And I'm throwing poor wil'Liam out of his house. We're going to set up a GoFundMe campaign right now. You get him his house back.
Shame on you, man.
You get him his scotch back. We're going to start right now.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Elisheva says, if you're hunting for food, now I've been reading the context of all the comments, and along with like Mitch has commented a few things on the side of halakha, which would be correct. But I'm thinking on a strange situation, like for example, you don't live near a synagogue, you don't live anywhere near, even let's say biblical times. Let's say you lived like hundreds of miles away, you didn't have a garden. All you had was your bow and arrow, and you saw a deer, and you were starving. So could you shoot that deer and eat it and be guilt-free?
I mean, nothing comes in the wake of what we call pikuach nefesh, of something that is life-threatening. Except, let's say, a person's dying, and the only thing that can save them, is something that was used for idolatry. Okay, that you can't use. Right, that you're not allowed to use to save your life. But anything that comes, if a person, let's say a person, we'll make it graphic. A person has an ulcer.
Has a what?
Right, a person has an ulcer. He has an ulcer.
Ulcer.
Right. If a person has an ulcer, right, there are times where a person's going to be starving, right, and they have to eat something. Like they absolutely have to eat something, or it could be, a tremendously dangerous situation. So what happens? They don't have any food on them. And they're right near McDonald's or Burger King, right? Can they run in and eat something? Otherwise, it could be a tremendously dangerous situation. Not going to be able to get to the hospital, get here, get there. Are they allowed to do something, like that?
Okay.
In a dangerous situation, except for idolatry and a few other things, there's almost nothing that can stop a person from doing that, because your life is in danger. Right now, so in this case, a person's starving, right? They got lost in the wilderness, let's say, got lost in a huge forest. They can't, they have no way to get out. They're starving. Are they allowed to, would be allowed to do that? If you're a Jew, you got to keep kosher, this, that, but you're starving, right? Yet, you have no choice. Survival, right? So
now wait, you're throwing in a whole different curve now, because let's say, for example, that let's say I convert to Judaism and I'm on a desert. I'm taking things to extremes because we need to understand the context. I'm on a desert island, and there's no food for whatever reason, but there's a pig, and I decide I'm starving to death. I'm fixing to die. Well, I feel like I am anyway, and I'm going to set a trap, and I catch this thing, and can I still eat pork? Or maybe I'm fishing and I catch a catfish. Can I still eat that if it means like surviving?
Your life is in danger.
Okay, that's
you're allowed.
Good.
You should be allowed to do that, except if it's something. Let's say you can't get healed by something that's idolatrous,
Gotcha.
Something like that is forbidden to
Oh,
get
right.
benefit
I see
from
what you
in
mean
any
now.
case.
Okay, cool.
In any case. But,
At least you have said I'll be starving because I ain't eat no pig.
no, so I was gonna say
That's
people,
funny.
there were people in the Holocaust that were dying of starvation, and they absolutely refused to eat non-kosher food, right? And there were people that survived that way. Now, obviously, people had to eat to keep up their strength. If you didn't keep up your strength, you died, right? That was pretty clear. So there were questions that were asked: Am I allowed to eat this non-kosher food? Otherwise, I'm going to die. Right. So, we should never get questions like that, but, you have no choice. You have no choice. You see a deer, you're starving, you kill it. That's it. What about the laws of kashrus? What about you're eating blood? I'm going to die. Right. A person's going to die. Does God want to see, see you there and die? Right. Reminds me of the story, guys in the ocean, and he's drowning. He's like, God, save me. The Coast Guard comes like, no, send him someone out. Another boat comes.
Gotta
like,
provide for me.
And the guy drowned. And so guy gets up to heaven and God, and the guy says, God, I don't understand. How come you didn't save me? He said, what are you, an idiot? He said, I sent you a boat. I sent you the lifeguard. I sent you this. But that's what happens. When it comes to saving a life, then you do whatever you can. Now, if you can minimize, let's make this clear. If you can minimize transgression, right, then it's certainly better to do that. But if you have no choice, you have no choice. Now, I'll give another example. Right, we mentioned about putting your life in danger. I'll give another example. There was about 20 years ago. There was a football player. Somebody was drowning, and there's a football player that saw this person drowning, and he jumped in to try and save him. And what happened? This person didn't know how to swim. He didn't know how to swim. So what happened? He went and tried and save him, and he drowned. Now, there's a 614th commandment that, is don't be stupid. If you don't know how to swim, you can't put yourself in a dangerous situation. This was a dangerous situation. If it's a doubt whether it's a dangerous situation, that's something else, right? Then you be allowed to do that. If it's a dangerous situation, and at the end of the day you die from it, that could be called suicide, right? And suicide is extremely serious, right? Suicide is not buried. A person commits suicide is not buried in in a Jewish cemetery. You don't mourn for them because you're not allowed to take your own life. So in that sense, you put yourself in a dangerous situation. You can't swim. Don't jump in to save someone. Your life comes first, right? That comes the famous piece of Talmud that says, "Who's to say your blood is redder than mine?" What's the case? The case in the Talmud is there's two people in the desert, and they have one flask of water, and they only have enough water for one person. So in that case, might makes right. You beat them up, you take the water, right? Who says, what do you do? Is it my water and I'll live and you'll die, or should we split it? We're both going to die, right? So I'm not making up these questions. These are very established, these are very established questions. So nobody should ever be, have to be in such a situation. But at the end of the day, there is no mitzvah whatsoever to put your life in danger. And if your life is in danger, to go in and do something. If there's a way you can do it any other way, you should. If not, it could be tragic, it could be sad, it could be any number of things. But why in the world, if you do that, and at the end of the day, like this football player drowned, unfortunately, we would call that a waste of life. He did a heroic thing. Not going to say not. It's a tremendously heroic thing. But if someone's drowning, you don't know how to swim, don't jump in. That's basic common sense for a non-Jew. That should also apply. That is basic common sense.
Right. That's funny.
And don't think you're going to be the cavalry and you can do it. You don't know how to swim.
Okay, so this was itching me really bad. This is the perfect time for it, though.
Itching?
Yeah. They're these two guys. Okay, so they went out on a survival kick, and while they were out, one guy had gone to the potty, and he while he was using the restroom, a rattlesnake had bit him on one of his hind cheeks, and so he told his best friend. He says, "Man," he goes, "Dude, if you don't like suck the blood out, I'm gonna die." And the dude says, "You know what? Hold on." He goes, I've got my phone. Let me see if I got signal. Hey, I've got signal. Let me make a phone call. Doc, hey, my best friend, he just got bit on the hind cheek by a rattlesnake." He goes, "What should I do?" He says, "I'm sorry, sir. You're gonna have to you suck the blood out. You did the poison out." And he goes, "Okay, thank you, Doc. I appreciate it." And his friend said, "What do you say? What do you say?" He goes, "Man, I'm sorry, dude. You're gonna die." So in a situation like that, sorry, the timing was right for that. I mean, realistically, in a situation like, regardless of life or death, if you're the only person available to aid or assist a person who's in danger, you really should do so.
Right, but I'm saying again, right? If should I run into a burning building where
you can't be protected,
the danger is imminent. There are people that have done it. I'm not, and save people. I'm not saying not, but what happens if God forbid that happens, and you don't come out, you don't make it? Well, that person's going to be deemed a hero, for trying to do it or whatever. But again, the purpose is this what God wants me to do? If there's a doubt, that's something else. If there's a doubt of danger, if there's clear danger, you're putting everything in jeopardy.
So if danger is like imminent, it's going to happen.
It's imminent, yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Wow. Things are getting deep. So, so in one of our, let me ask you another question. I was going to send you a text. Every time I have an idea for a topic, I send you a Facebook message.
Yeah, I know.
Did you see the one earlier? Okay.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Now I have to explain the one about paramedics because we're kind of on topic for this. Okay, so I have had friends in the past who were like, I'll give you a very precise example without names. Married couple. The wife was a paramedic, but she was having issues with her husband, and she got paired with another male paramedic. Trouble at home, sitting in a vehicle 8-10 hours a day. I don't know what the schedule is, but consistently like this. Is that something that they should walk away from and request a different partner, or should they just go with the flow? Because you're exposing yourself to possible temptations it's almost imminent in a way, like you're saying.
Well, that's the question, right? Which brings up, of course, another bigger topic, which is about work in the secular workplace.
Whoa!
Right?
Well, working in okay, that's a whole topic
on
its own. And the secular
men and women together.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna say, hey, you talk. I'm gonna type. That's a good one, actually. All right, talk away. I'm gonna switch screens so they can just look at you.
So the question, the question of that is that what type of, workplace is a person working? Now, you may not have control of that, right? If a person works in a place where, that, there are women there for all you men, or there are women and they're going to be men there. So it's not forbidden necessarily to work in such a place, but you 100% have to set up boundaries where, you're not so chummy, right? In other words, I know somebody that, worked in a bunch of places, and, this woman wouldn't allow people to call her by her first name, wouldn't allow men to call her by her first name. She was, Mrs. Smith or whatever, right? So that is a boundary. You make other boundaries as well. So it's not outrightly forbidden. It could be that, someone's a paramedic and they're just, they're driving around, at night, and, and it's dark and all that. So, that might be more of an issue. But if it's during the day, if it's during the day, then not necessarily saying that it's a problem. Right, it should be okay. There's a Jewish group called Hatzalah, where almost every Jewish community, most Jewish communities have. They're like paramedics and etc. So they come within like 30 seconds, a minute, few minutes if there's danger or whatever. And most of these, paramedics, there are, they're men. They're. I think I read an article a while ago about some setting up, like a women's group also, that there are women on call as well, but it's vastly men. So then, again, that gets into the question: can men work on women? Administer CPR and all that. To women. So there's a famous question that comes up, and that is, if a woman's drowning in the ocean, can a man come and save her if he knows how to swim? Say, nah, it's sneers, it's laws of modesty, can't touch her. Yeah, she's gonna drown. She's gonna drown. So say, well, I should think of another way. I should throw out a buoy. I should do it. No, I have to run in and save her. Right? So you say, no, I can't do it. There's a lot of, there are modesty issues. So don't forget the 615th commandment. Don't be a moron. That is insane. I can't do it. I can't touch them. They have spiritual cooties. All these different things. How can I do that?
That's funny.
Lady, I'm really sorry. The laws of modesty. I can't help you. I'll call the burial society. Adios.
Okay. I have to.
Doesn't make any logical sense.
Okay, I've got to jump this in. This is really an interesting.
You got a follow up? I can't believe you have a follow up to what I just said. I can't even imagine. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll say. Okay, so Alicia Akers has said something regarding survival in the context of things. I have to put it out there like the way I saw it whenever she typed it. So I'm on this desert island. There's no pigs. There's no catfish. But you were there. But you were there. But you were there, and there was another person there. But this person died, and you're like starving to death. Your ribs are showing through. Can you like? Sorry, I've got to say it. Can you eat the other person? Cook the other person and eat it for food to survive. Sorry, that's the only way I can put that out there.
Okay, so we have a precedent for that in the time of the destruction of the Second Temple. The keynotes, these liturgical poems that we read on Tisha B'Av, on the 9th of Av, that commemorate the destruction of the temple, speak about women that are starving that ate their children. That's one of the curses of the book of Deuteronomy, and that unfortunately has come to fruition. So eating human flesh, I don't think it's a Torah prohibition. It's a whole discussion. At what level that it's forbidden, whether it's on a Torah level, it's on a rabbinic level. But we definitely have precedent that a person was starving. If a person was starving and there's no one else around, and there are no animals there. You can't climb up a tree for coconuts or whatever. So there's nothing around. So if there's a human being there, so that is what has happened in history, unfortunately. So, would you be allowed to eat that, to eat a person? So I would ask the question, what's the difference between eating a person and eating a pig? Or eating, what do you say, a catfish or, whatever. Shouldn't be any different. Right? You say, but eating human and that's gross, and eating pig shouldn't be any different. It's just we're more sensitive to certainly to a human being than certainly to anything else. So but if you're gonna die and there's nothing else, then it's not forbidden to get benefit from. So you would be able to make a shish kebab. I don't know.
Whoa, that's like next level stuff right there.
It sounds pretty gross. And, not making light.
Yep.
Of it. If someone is in that situation, you have no choice.
Right. That's true.
Right? Yeah, you have no choice, and unfortunately, this is what happened in the time of the Second Temple.
Right.
Destruction of the Second Temple, where women speak about eating their children. That is unfortunately, it's one of the curses that the Torah gives. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, this certainly could happen, and it has.
Right. Wow. That's pretty deep.
If you can eat tree bark, that's better. If you can eat plants, that's better. Then we get back to the hallucinogenic mushrooms, but obviously there weren't any. So you couldn't do that.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been fun. We've had a lot of good questions, a lot of good comments on YouTube, good follow-ups, and I'm looking forward to next week. Y'all stay tuned and find out what next week's title is going to be. It'll be something interesting. That's all I know for sure. And so, Rabbi, thank you. You're stellar as always, and I really appreciate your time. And thank you all for tuning in. Subscribe to Rabbi's Facebook page. Go to his Facebook page, YouTube channel, the whole 9 yards, mine too. And again, just a reminder, I'll put up the video for last week, just in case you missed it for the new viewers. At the end of the video, it'll probably show up about an hour from now, maybe, unless it's too late, and then tomorrow morning I'll do it. So we'll see. Sometime in the next day, I'll have the actual links up for that, and also for the TORAH Talk relocation plan. So you guys have a great night. Thank you all for tuning in. Rabbi, love you, man. You're crazy as ever.
All right. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, 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 everybody. Take care, y'all.
נזכור בסוף, בסוף, כולנו שותפים.